Want to know something that really grinds my gears? When people try to be all elitist and tell you to grow out of playing video games. Now, I get it, spending too much time indulging in entertainment is in fact a waste of time. But the people that say that playing video games is a waste of time are usually the same people that will gladly spend 7 straight hours binge-watching shows on Netflix. People look down on video games, as if they can't possibly be a true art form like other kinds of media. Whenever I find myself in that conversation, the first game I point to is NieR Automata. I first played NieR Automata back in 2021 through Xbox Game Pass. I was itching for a deep and philosophical game that would really hit me the same way that Xenoblade Chronicles 2 did. And one of my friends told me that NieR Automata was the perfect game for that. I downloaded the game and gave it a shot, and holy crap, I had a blast! The game opened with what very well may be the edgiest quote in existence.
Everything that lives is designed to end. We are perpetually trapped in a never-ending spiral of life and death. Is this a curse? Or some kind of punishment? I often think about the god who blessed us with this cryptic puzzle, and wonder if we'll ever have the chance to kill him.
You know the game's gonna get deep when it opens with a line like that. Not even Shadow the Hedgehog could top that one. The story takes place in the distant future, when aliens have attacked Earth by sending machines to fight for them. Humanity fled to the moon, and in order to take back the planet, they created YoRHa, a military force entirely composed of androids. The game follows the androids 2B and 9S as they investigate the machines and take back the land that once belonged to humanity. The story was really good. The game did an amazing job at keeping me in suspense the whole way through. The game kept dropping bomb after bomb on the plot, so I was always dying to find out what would happen next. The characters were really good in NieR Automata. The best games are the ones where it feels like you've formed a true connection with the characters, and that's exactly how I felt in this game. I cared a lot about what would happen to characters like 9S, which made the story all the more suspenseful. They may all be androids, but they were humanized really well, and you got to know their flaws and motives, which added a lot to the game and its story. That makes the game so much more immersive in my opinion. I'm looking at things from an outsider's perspective when I'm watching a TV show or a movie, as if I'm looking at the character and their friends. In NieR Automata though, I am the character, and those are my friends. If the gameplay is done right and the characters are written well enough, a video game can easily become more immersive than other forms of media simply because I'm interacting with it. Even the side characters were written really well in this game. For example, there was a side quest at the beginning of the game where you need to get some materials for a supply trader, and when you bring the materials back to him, he tells you about his bad leg, which is the reason why you had to go get those materials in the first place. He's replaced all the other parts of his body, so even though his leg doesn't work anymore, he won't replace it since it's the last original piece of him left. If he did replace it, would he even still be the same person? I sat staring at the screen having a brief existential crisis for about 5 minutes after that. That's some deep stuff for a random side quest, especially for the beginning of the game. The story itself got pretty deep too. Throughout the story, you explore different parts of the world and meet all sorts of machines. Most of them are hostile, but plenty of them aren't acting the way you'd expect. They should be ruthlessly attacking you, but instead, plenty of them seem to be scared and unwilling to fight, and a lot of them are acting like humans. 9S keeps assuring 2B and the player that the machines are simply programmed to say and do those things, and that they're not really scared or they're not really thinking and acting like humans. Even still though, I was definitely starting to question things. When you discover Pascal's village, you really start to doubt what 9S was saying. It's a village where machines live a peaceful life, free of violence. They even offer YoRHa help in fighting the hostile machines. That all makes you question who you're truly fighting here. That's some heavy stuff, and it made me feel bad for attacking the machines. Plenty of games don't put that much effort into humanizing the enemies, but NieR Automata took that to a whole new level. It makes you question who the true enemy is, and who's really in the wrong. It also makes you question why you're even doing what you're doing in the first place, which was really impactful. Not much later in the story, you find out that the aliens that had made the machines, the ones that sent them to Earth in the first place, had been dead for years. Not only that, but it was the machines that killed them. The machines were all connected through a network, and eventually, their combined intelligence was much greater than that of their creators, so they defied them and killed them. It's a wild plot twist that I seriously did not see coming, and one that becomes even more important later on. The gameplay was really good in this game as well. It's an action RPG, and holy moly, I was addicted. The movement and the attacks all felt so fluid, and it was really satisfying to watch an enemy's health bar gradually decrease. It was fun controlling the melee physical attacks with 2B or any other character you're playing as, and then also use attacks from the pod. It was a lot of fun, and unlike most RPGs, I actually spent time in this game thinking about the optimal loadout and best weapons to equip rather than just leveling up a lot and brute forcing my way through the game. The soundtrack was also an absolute banger. My favorite song, hands down, is Weight of the World. It's not only one of my favorite video game songs of all time, but one of my favorite songs of all time, period. There have been so many times I've screamed that song at the top of my lungs in my car. The lyrics hit me right in the feels every single time I listen to it. It's such a beautiful song. I also really loved City Ruins' Rays of Light, which is a great song for when I want to relax, and Become as Gods, which is a great song for those times I want to start a cult. After playing through NieR Automata for about 10 hours, I finally beat the game, and I'm not gonna lie, I was slightly disappointed. The story was pretty good, don't get me wrong, but it felt like it was missing something. As the credits rolled, I thought, that's it? What about all the loose ends, all the plot points that were introduced but never continued? As it turned out, that wasn't actually the end. When I got back to the main menu, I found out that the ending I experienced was one of many, and I did not like that at first. All the time I spent making my way through the game, and for what? I have to repeat the grind multiple times just so I can see all the different endings? I didn't want to spend my time doing that. I was impatient, so I quit for a while, until a friend finally talked me out of it. He couldn't tell me why without spoiling it, but he promised that replaying the game was well worth it. I took his advice and decided to jump back in, only to find out that the game was no longer on Xbox Game Pass. Fast forward about a year later, and I finally had my own copy, and I played through the first ending again. When I finally started my second playthrough, I immediately understood why I needed to play the game again. Right off the bat, you're given a new perspective. The second time around, you play from 9S's point of view rather than 2B's, and even though the story is the same, it makes a huge difference. The beginning of the second playthrough has you play as a machine, and it wants you to try to repair this machine's brother, which is super depressing, and once again, really humanizes the machines that you're supposed to be fighting. 9S shows no sympathy for them, which creates a bit of cognitive dissonance between 9S, the character that the player is controlling, and the player themselves. That makes me feel even more guilty for my actions than I already felt. It also took away a lot of the meaning from your actions. The game is all about fighting the machines because they're evil and want to destroy mankind. That machine definitely did not want to destroy mankind though. He just wanted to help his brother. It made me reevaluate what I was even fighting for and prompted me to think about more than just the game, but myself. The second playthrough overall added a lot of context to the game. 9S is a scanner android, so he's much better at picking up info than 2B. I was able to figure out more information about some of the enemies and bosses, what was really going on with the machines, and most importantly, what was going on with the humans. This playthrough drops what may have been my favorite plot twist in all of gaming, maybe even in any form of media ever. 9S finds out that the humans have been dead this entire time, before the aliens even arrived. YoRHa kept the lie about the humans on the moon because, according to the commander, the androids need a god worth dying for. The androids were created to fight. Their entire lives were dedicated to fighting for the continued survival of the human race. What's the point of fighting if the humans are already dead? And what's the point of their lives if the humans are already dead? That bombshell of a plot twist really shook me. I spent all that time going through the first playthrough and the second playthrough. And for what? YoRHa wasn't saving humanity. They were a part of needless violence. I realized that purpose isn't something you're just given. Nobody's born with a purpose in life. It's something that you need to make yourself. I realized that who you are and the things you do are what truly influence your purpose in life. It also makes you wonder what the point of the war even was. Both androids and machines were fighting for creators that were no longer alive. They shouldn't be fighting on behalf of their creators, they should be fighting on behalf of themselves now. They were locked in a seemingly endless battle, and for what? They weren't getting anything out of it. NieR Automata gives the player this feeling that their actions have been pointless, not only through the story, but through the gameplay. The game makes you play through the story twice before you get to see what happens next. You do the same thing over again just to get slightly more information about what's going on. Like I said earlier, I gave up when I found out that I'd have to play the whole game over again before getting the true ending. If I have to play through the game multiple times, am I really making progress? If I am, how would I know? The true ending of the game takes this to a whole new level. When the credits roll, you have to battle the names of people that worked on the game, which are all shooting at you. It's extremely difficult, and after struggling for a little bit, the game offers you some help. Other players will help you fight off the names, but there's a twist. All of those players that are helping you fight off the names had to sacrifice their save data in order to help you. When you finally make it through the credits, you're asked to do the same. Will you keep your save data and accept your original notion of progress, or will you sacrifice your save file and accept that progress is really just acknowledging the past and moving towards the future? Are you willing to sacrifice your save data for a stranger? That made me question what progress truly was. We always think of progress as reaching a certain goal we set out for. When I got the first ending of the game, I asked why I would throw all of my progress away just to start over. According to NieR Automata, it's about the wisdom and experience we gain from the journey rather than the results of the journey itself. That's why the game was always giving more context to the story with each playthrough. Even if there's no tangible reward for your actions, you've been rewarded with experience, and you've grown as a person along the way. It's a life-changing lesson that was told in a way that only a video game could. That lesson can easily be applied to other aspects of life. I'm always afraid to try new things, because what if I fail at it, or eventually give up? Will I have wasted my time? NieR Automata taught me that no matter what I do, I'll have grown as a person, and that's all that really matters in the end. Everything I do builds my character, and while the progress I might get from my actions is great, it's not nearly as important as the experience I'm getting. In simpler terms, it's not about the destination, but the journey itself. That was very reassuring. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, plenty of people have talked down on me for playing video games, saying that they're a waste of time. While I don't think that video games themselves are a waste of time, what about entertainment in general? Sure, I'm getting some relaxation out of the entertainment I indulge in, but that's about it. Was indulging in entertainment a waste of time? That's something I really struggled with during the pandemic. I was stuck at home, and although I did more than just play video games all day, I'd be lying if I said that I didn't spend most of my time in front of a screen. I felt like I was wasting my time because I wasn't doing something more productive, like learning to play an instrument or learning a new language. Although I didn't play NieR Automata until after quarantine restrictions were lifted, it still felt like a huge weight was lifted off of my shoulders when it all finally hit me. Sure, I didn't earn anything tangible or get any rewards for playing video games during the pandemic, but I didn't need any. The greatest rewards I could have ever hoped for were the fond memories I have of playing games with friends and the character development I got from it. Another great example is the game I tried making during the pandemic. Like I mentioned earlier, I felt really guilty about not trying new things, so one of the things I decided to do was make a game. I was really interested in game development at the time, and with all the free time I had, I thought, hey, why not? I'll try to make a mobile game. I spent hours and hours in front of my laptop fixing bugs and figuring out the ins and outs of game development. I was starting to lose interest towards the end, but I figured, you know what? I've spent so much time on this, I may as well finish the project. I was so very close to finishing it, but then all the files got corrupted. Let me tell you, I was fuming. I was super mad for a while, but I've come to terms with it. The wisdom I got out of that experience is worth way more than the game itself. I learned what I'm interested in. I learned that I love coding, just maybe not necessarily game development. I learned so much about coding and technology. I developed a better work ethic, and I developed better project management skills. All of these skills have been invaluable to me throughout my life, so even though I may not have anything to show for the time I spent making that game, I don't need to. The lesson also helped me feel at peace with cycles in life. We all get into a rhythm, whether it's for school, work, or whatever else. You get up in the morning, have a quick bite to eat, head to work or school, come back home, rinse and repeat. Those kinds of routines are nice for a little while, but they would always become so depressing at a certain point. I'd get used to them, and they'd no longer feel special, but instead, they'd feel boring and sad. The lives of 9S and 2B mirror that as well. As the pods say in the game, the two of them are stuck in a never-ending spiral of life and death. But that doesn't necessarily mean that their lives are pointless. Life isn't about escaping the routines and cycles of life, but rather making peace with them. The last cutscene of the game really hammered that message home, and it was honestly life-changing. The same can be said about this entire game. It's easily the most philosophical game I have ever played. I went into extreme detail about a few points that were made, but believe me, the game had a ton of more messages about life. It referenced a ton of philosophers and even baked the game's messages into the gameplay. I've never seen anything quite like it, and I'm not sure I ever will. NieR Automata is a masterpiece, no doubt about it, and it's a game that I'd recommend to anybody that hasn't played it before. It gave me a new lease on life, and I will always be thankful for that.